I'm joined now by somebody who has worked in two different capacities on the new series of Doctor Who, both as standby props and a runner. So I'd like to introduce Alice Edwards. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Not bad, thank you. And keeping yourself busy?
Yeah, trying to.
Missing the world of long days and early starts?
Weirdly, I am. I really want to go back to work. So if this can all go back to normal-ish, that would be great.
So I wonder if you could start by just explaining what both a runner and standby props does.
Okay, so a runner basically is in charge of looking after cast and crew. So we'll do jobs like making cups of tea, giving out snacks, making sure the artists get into makeup and costume in the morning, making sure everyone's quiet on set when we're rolling, just basically doing anything that anyone needs to do, little tasks around, just keeping an eye on everything, basically. And then standby prop, so I'm on set with the actors and all the props. I give the actors their props explained to them, so if they're like electronic props like phones, like special videos and stuff on, and I help them with that. I also maintain prop continuity and general set and furniture continuity. So if you have to move furniture for camera or sound or anything, then I have to remember to put it back in exactly the same place so it doesn't look weird when it goes into the edit.
So is standby props perhaps a little bit more demanding than being a runner, or is it just different areas?
I think it's just different. I think every department is demanding when you work in TV, but it's definitely shorter hours than being a runner. And you get to concentrate on just your department, whereas when you're a runner, you have to be on everything and everybody constantly. Whereas at least standby props, you get to just concentrate on your little bit, which is nice.
And in terms of Doctor Who, you worked alongside Jodie Whittaker as standby props on
Yeah.
3 episodes of the most recent series. Is
Yep.
Doctor Who a particularly complicated and prop-heavy show?
Yes, because it can be mental. So you go from like one day of being in like 1940s Paris, and then you skip to the next day and you're in the far, far future with weird alien technology and things with loads of batteries in which you have to keep changing. And yeah, it can be mental.
So something like that, do you get a script? Do you sort of get an idea of what's coming up? Or is it literally that day, these are the scenes, these are the props?
So when I was brought in, I was covering for somebody because they needed me to cover for them for those episodes. So I hadn't read the scripts beforehand, but usually you would get the scripts and read them, and you do a breakdown for your standby art director and yourself would do a breakdown. So for each scene, you write, like, you'd see what the props were and make notes so you knew going in. So on the day, I was the second standby. So the first standby, Matt, he would get out all the props because he's been on the whole series. So he knew what he needed. And we'd lay them all out on our props table and we'd go through them. So he'd explain to me what was going on. And we'd get, so on the day, you get little things called sides. So you have a call sheet which tells you what's going on throughout the day. And then they have the scenes of the day, the scripts for the scenes of the day. So I'd read them in the morning and highlight them and circle all the props and stuff. So at least I vaguely knew what was going to happen in the scene. So yeah.
And you would be across both the location and the studio filming, I take it?
Yeah. So when I did those 3 episodes, so the only location work I didn't do was when they went abroad, because I got asked to do it, but I couldn't because I was on another show. I got asked to go to Tenerife, but I couldn't. But yeah, I did all the location stuff in the UK.
Is Doctor Who quite a daunting show to come on to? Because as you say, a lot of the team have done all the series or a number of stories.
I didn't find it daunting because I knew a few people, but even the people I didn't know were lovely. Like if after a couple of days, it felt like I'd been there for ages. Like everyone's just really nice, so it's quite easy to slot in as long as you just get on and like do the work basically.
Because you've also worked with the previous Doctor, Peter Capaldi, on The Doctor Falls and World Enough and Time. They were very iconic stories.
Yeah.
Were you sort of aware of what the legacy of those stories would be, that, you know, the Master and the Cybermen?
So I was there. So I was doing like props work experience then. They were really nice and they brought me in to do some work experience. And I was there I didn't know that I was going to be there for the scene on the rooftop with Michelle Gomez, John Sim, and Peter Capaldi. And that was my first day of work experience, like props work experience on it. And that was pretty mental. Because it's just, yeah, get the two masters and the Doctor all in one. So that was fun, and the Cybermen in as well. So that was great.
So you must have a great deal of contact with all the actors involved. Are they always very, very supportive and sort of pally, rather than it being quite
Yeah, no,
professional?
they're lovely. They're really nice, because it can be awkward sometimes because you're strapping things to their wrists and like tying them up, like weird things like that. So, but they're always really lovely, and they always stop and have a chat in between scenes. And yeah, it's just completely normal. Like that, nobody's like stuck up or anything like that. Everyone's just really nice.
So how does something like Doctor Who compare to other things produced in Wales? Is like Casualty? Is it a very different show, or is it just a different scale?
It's a bit more pressurized, I'd say, because there's a lot of pressure on the show, because it's been going for so long. Casualty's been going for so long, but I think it's not as like big budget, and yeah, you have to get things done on time on Doctor Who. It's very like the budget for what it is not as big as you'd think, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would say I felt a bit more pressure, like a bit more of the pressure to act and to be better at my job, like because I knew that this was a big thing. Like for me, it's a big thing anyway to work on Doctor Who, but I think it just felt a bit more, yeah, like I needed to be really good.
So having started off doing work experience on the show, did it mean that when you went on to other productions, if anything, you sort of over prepared? Did it make other things seem a bit more straightforward then?
I found it easier because I knew what I was going into, because at least then I'd done, and I worked with people that when I was a runner, I'd met anyway, so I kind of slotted in quite easily. So then when I went to work on Casualty, which was my first paid job as a standby prop, I at least felt like I was kind of knew what I was doing, which was good. Because it can be a bit daunting sometimes when you step onto a set and you don't know anybody, and you don't really know what you're doing.
And as you say, you've done work as a runner as well. Is there a particular preference, or is it just nice to be able to do both at the moment?
So I was a runner for 4 or 5 years, and I always wanted to get into the art department. So I'm no longer a runner. I don't take runner jobs. I'm now strictly standby, because that's what I always wanted to do. So I prefer that than being a runner. But I enjoyed being a runner at the time because it was the way to get into the industry and to get to know what was going on and to meet people, and work on those different shows. But yeah, I prefer being a standby.
And having been a runner and dealt with all the departments and the actors, does that give you a slightly better understanding in terms of props and how it all works?
Yeah, because especially on like things like Casualty, you work really closely with like makeup, and because of all the prosthetics, and with the medical team, because you have to be hooking people up to medical equipment and stuff all the time. So it's just really great to know how they work and to integrate with them. And you kind of just, yeah, it's really, because you as a standby also you have to work really closely with like camera and sound, because you're moving stuff for them all the time. And yeah, it's another one of those departments where it links in with a lot of other departments really closely. So yeah, running was good to get to know how everyone works.
But one of those runners' jobs was Class, which was also one of the Doctor Who spin-offs.
Yeah.
How early were you brought into that, or was it just a case of we need someone on odd days?
So I got a phone call because I needed someone to cover someone for a night shoot, like an additional pair of hands. And I came in, and then from then on, so I wasn't like employed for the whole of it, but I was nearly in every day as like an extra pair of hands, or like to do specific things like go off with some of the actors for photo shoots or whatever, things like that. So I got credited for the first episode, which was really nice of them, because I wasn't like officially like on a full-time contract with them. So that was really nice of them to do for me. And I was up nearly until the end, so I got a call for another job, and I went to go do another job.
That must have been nice to see the whole show through, because of course you've done odd episodes of Doctor Who, but to see a series through
Yeah.
must be very satisfying.
Yeah, and it was one of my favorite jobs. Everyone was just really lovely. It was like one big family, and because it was like kind of like an unknown thing, there wasn't a lot of pressure. It was very like a relaxed, friendly set. And we got on with the work, and I think it was really good. It didn't go for a second series, but it seems to be quite popular on Netflix at the moment, so that's great.
And at the time, was there sort of this feeling on set that it was something special, that it could run and run?
Yeah, we generally all thought that we would be coming back for a second series. It just didn't happen. They didn't commission it, which was a shame because, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think everyone who worked on it would have loved to have come back for a second series and done it all again, but it just didn't happen.
And as a runner, that must have kept you particularly busy. You had lots of people in prosthetics, you had lots of supporting artists. That must have been a very busy shoot.
Yeah, it was good because it gets boring if you're just standing around doing nothing. So it's nice to have loads of things to do and loads of different artists, and yeah, it was fun.
And had you come across a great deal of prosthetics work before, or was that something new for you?
No, because before that I'd done Doctor Who and I'd done a couple of days on Casualty, and yeah, so the whole prosthetic monster thing was pretty, like, I got that down by then. I'd done quite a lot of work with people that couldn't see what they were doing in their prosthetics and having to guide them around by their hand and things like that. Yeah.
And it seemed to be a show that had an awful lot of night shoots as well, which must have been very demanding.
Yeah, night shoots are okay if you're doing them in a long stint because you get used to the hours. But if you go from a night shoot and then you're clawing back the time, then it really messes with your brain.
And are you someone that can watch their work back, or do you watch it thinking, oh, I remember being cold and wet there, I can't see it again?
It's a bit like that whenever I watch anything. I'm always like, oh, that was the day that happened, or things like that. But like, I can switch it off and watch it sometimes. I haven't really rewatched Class. I think I rewatched a couple of episodes recently with a mate, but I haven't like watched the full series in a long time.
And how different were the two shows, Doctor Who and Class? Did they feel like that sort of same worlds? Because I imagine it had been a lot of the same people.
Yeah, it was kind of like the same world, but obviously because Class was more like of a younger adult kind of thing, so they were all teenagers and stuff. So it was kind of like I would like, it's kind of like Buffy in that it's centered in the high school and it was more of that like teenage humor kind of compared to like I think the broad range of like things in Doctor Who. Like it's more for like the humor was a bit more for kids in Doctor Who and things like that. But yeah, but you could still see it was in the same world because obviously we were in Coal Hill and we had like on the Coal Hill like wooden board on the wall they had like Clara's name on it on the memorial board and like Susan's name and stuff. So they were like little like drop-ins, and obviously we had Peter Capaldi in the first episode in the prom. So yeah, it all kind of tied in.
And you sound as though you're a fan of the show then. Was it nice to see those little nuances?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the memorial board. That was fun, picking out everyone's names and things. And then, yeah, when we had Peter Capaldi for that first episode, that was really nice because I think it was the first time with his new sonic screwdriver as well. So that was like the first time we got to actually like play with the prop. Well, I say play with the prop respectfully, to like pick it up and have a look at it, and he was showing it to us. So yeah, that was nice.
Also, another production in Wales that you talk to any crew they mention is Will, which was a sort of young telling of Shakespeare's story, which kept you very busy as a crowd am I right in thinking?
Yeah.
So could you say, what does a crowd AD do?
So we are in charge of all the background actors. So it's something like Will, because they built a full-scale replica of the globe, the first 2 floors of the globe, which could fit about 400 background actors in it. So our job in the morning is to get them all signed in, all eating breakfast, then to get them all through hair and makeup, and then throughout the day to keep track of them. So we maintain their continuity. So if you see them walking across the screen and stuff, to make sure they're doing the same thing, to tell them what to do, and then sign them out at the end. And yeah, that's the full day. So that could be like, especially if we have 400 of them in, so we'd probably come in at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then by the time we sign them out in the evening, it's probably like 8-9 o'clock in the evening. So it's like a full-on long day.
So that must have been a totally different challenge to both, Class and standby props. But does it make the day go a lot quicker then?
Yeah, because you don't have time to look at your watch because you're constantly having to like be in charge of 400 people basically, which can be a mixture of age ranges. You can have kids in there. It's chaos all the time. And it's just, yeah, it's knackering.
And are there any programs that you're particularly keen to work on, or genres you'd like to do a bit more in?
I would love to do a Harry Potter film. So I would love to work on Fantastic Beasts. That's like the goal. Like if they said to me just to come in for like 2 hours to stand there with a wand to give to somebody, I would drop in a heartbeat and drive to London right now. That's like my goal in life. But like TV programs, I don't know, I kind of achieved it by working on Doctor Who because that was my thing for ages, that I really wanted to like have my name in the credits of Doctor Who. So I don't know, I'd give anything a go, really.
So did working on Doctor Who live up to that expectation then, having been a fan?
Yeah, it did. And it was kind of like a really weird moment to see my name because I didn't realize that they'd credited me, and we were watching the episode because I watch all the episodes, obviously. We're watching them, and I always watch the credits of everything I do now, but just to see my friends' names and stuff in them. We're watching it, and I noticed my name, and my mum and dad were so proud. Like, I don't think I've ever seen them so proud in my life. And I was just a bit touched because I didn't know they were going to put my name in there. So that was a really big thing for me, which it may seem lame, but like for me, it was like, yeah, it's what I wanted to do since I was a teenager. So, yeah.
And how had you got into the world of television? Because it's famously quite a competitive and difficult area to get into.
Yeah, I got really lucky. So I did a degree in geography, and then in my third year decided that I didn't want to do a geography job, and I actually wanted to work in TV. Like I generally was going to try and make it happen. I did a short film with my friend who was in Newport Uni, and I was like the runner on her student film. And I stayed in a room with a girl who worked in the art department on Doctor Who, Dunwick. And she gave me an email address for one of the producers, so I got like super lucky. And must have been a bit annoying because every time I updated my CV, I would email the producer asking to see if they had any days work. And I just kept pestering, pestering. And I think they probably like, oh, for God's sake, we'll just call her. So I was in uni and they called me one day to come and do a day on Doctor Who. And I was terrified and didn't know what I was doing. And everyone was really lovely. And I was like, oh, I screwed up. They'll never employ me again. Then they rang me and they kept ringing me and they recommended me for other jobs. So yeah, I just got really lucky, like really lucky. And they were lovely and decided to give me a go, which is a big thing because I've never worked in TV before.
And now that you're in and amongst it, do you ever think, well, maybe you should do something with a geography degree, or are you quite happy in television?
No, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing.
If you had to sort of say what qualities makes someone that's ideal for standby props, what would you say those are?
Patience, being really good at concentrating, because you always have to be watching because you never know when a cameraman's just going to slightly move like a lamp out the way, or the actors suddenly their phone messes up because they press the wrong button and you have to go running in there. And just generally just be hardworking, just be there and happy and wanting to be there, because if you're like not enjoying it, then it rubs off on everyone else and it kind of like brings the mood down a bit.
Well, I think on that, very good advice. I'd like to say thank you very much for your time, Alice.
No problem.